Welcome back. Oh, that looks nice. Final Chill Mountain level that has an ant in it. So final obligatory Chill Mountain level. Looks like the ant's hidden behind an arch near one of the last checkpoints. I'm just gonna hope that I don't have to do that. I actually have to do this. Actually, I have a choice of how to approach this. Leaning forwards is really, really awkward though, jeez. Okay, that's not the way to do it. Why is leaning forward so— whoa. Why is leaning forward so much more awkward than backwards? I don't quite get that. Oh no, actually no, this is super awkward too. Ah, that is actually a really, really awkward transition. Wow. Didn't expect that to be so hard. I hadn't realized this whole time that the devs were being mindful, presumably, of not doing this sort of transition before, because it's a really, really strange one. Once you figure it out, it's not so bad, but it looks a lot simpler than it is. It's definitely not as easy as transferring from being upright to something else or vice versa. I could see the ant from here. Beautiful. So is this gonna be our gimmick? I move the remote forwards or backwards. And then transition from there. Awkward angle transitions. You put it there as if I went there intentionally. Darn it. Honestly, I find it easier to tilt the remote backwards and forwards, so this is actually where I prefer to go. It happens to be where the ant was. Both the secrets here actually I kind of ended up going to without even meaning to. Had to get out of the way there because it would crush me otherwise. If you try to go at an angle, you have to make a jump that while going a little bit fast, and you'll start to lose control. So I guess the answer is to just try to control yourself, your speed enough that you, or stop suddenly enough that you don't hit the bumper. That's non-trivial too. Well, I guess I did do something just as difficult just now. There you go. I do realize I'm starting to like talk less about things as I go through these levels. And I think part of that is because I'm just focusing more. And I was always expending effort, but oh jeez, really. Maybe this is what they actually wanted me to do. Instead. But I just refused. Well, no, because I have to do the weird angle here too. I don't know. As you consider it the player's choice. Thank you. I feel thankful for the game every time it gives me something to rest against now. But I'm certainly expending effort now as I was before, but it feels like at least as much, but I'm focusing more to sake of it. It looks like there's not even any space between these. I don't know if the spikes actually hurt yet. It looks like it's just the cylinders themselves or something. But now I'm expending more effort in a way that prevents me from actually spending as much time speaking. For better or worse. If it keeps me from complaining as much about my legs, I guess all the better. But of course my legs are a bit better now, even though I have to move all the time. Challenge! I'm ready. Yeah! See a jump, oh jeez. Let's go, Saturn. Saturn's just like my trusty. Oh my god. Companion here? Do I have to do what I think I have to do here? I get this is supposed to be a challenge stage, but oh my god. 1 second. Get in prime playing position here. This might take the rest of this episode and maybe some more. Yeah. It's tempting to use that first fan to your advantage. But then I'll just knock you into the second fan. Almost. Again, all you have to do is move horizontally. And that one you have tons of leeway too. You don't even have to stop after the jump or anything. You just need to not... You just need to move horizontally. For some reason that's really hard. As you saw there though, it is possible to correct yourself. I don't know if I've ever seen these icy gears actually, that's interesting. I might have, but I don't recognize it. Huh. It's interesting how these fit together. It's actually an interesting combination of obstacles, I like that. No, though, what made me concerned was, I think what's about to come up here. Maybe this won't be as bad as it looks. But I'm a little suspicious of the idea. Oh my god! You jump off the bumpers! They give you lots of checkpoints though, so I guess it's not that bad. I want to see someone do this fast though, this would be really glorious I think to see done quickly. One downside to doing what I'm doing though with the new recording setup. I'm sitting on the floor this whole time, so I'm all hunched over the whole time. Just doing a bit of a number on my back. After doing this for over an hour. It can be hard sometimes to get enough speed on these jumps. Ah! No, you have to be centered on these things too. If you're not, you'll go way off course. So I'll greatly magnify that. It's all about going horizontal. I feel like that's what this game is about in general. That's the central challenge of this game. Horizontal movement. Like, how many of this game's challenges actually rely on that? Or maybe it's not supposed to be a challenge to move horizontally, and I'm just bad enough at it that I think this entire game revolves around it. Could be that. But also, I managed to do this under 3 minutes after thinking that it would be so much harder. I'll take it. Oh, jeez. Every time I see a new area, I think to myself, man, that area was a lot harder than the last one last time I went through it. But we're okay so far. I think there are only 2 areas left after... excluding the bonus areas. I think that there are only 2 areas left after the underwater. I think there are only 3 left if you don't include the bonus areas now. So you have underwater, then space, and Stump Temple, I think? You have music playing on top of each other. And then of course you have 3 bonus areas though, so that's actually quite a lot left after that. Since I think most areas are tougher generally than everything else, I think I'll wait to do the bonus areas after I finish the Stump Temple. Assuming I finish the Stump Temple. Fish. It's just our forever companion here, the Saturn. I don't see any reason to go away. And at this point I'm so used to how it controls, and I think that's an important part of it. Get that Andes off the gear. The lighting here is cool though. And you do have a 3D shark moving around, that is nice. Something that's actually 3D in the background. I love, by the way, the music in the water areas in this game. This is some of my favorite music in the game. I love the excitement music. I think I like the tutorial music if I remember right. But I know... Oops, I don't think I was touching that. I know I love the underwater music. If I think of underwater music that I like in, well, anything, I think of this game, in all seriousness. And a little bit of Boom Blocks too. Bash Party. Whose soundtrack I was actually listening to a bit just earlier today. The composer of the soundtrack of the 2 Boom Blocks games actually put on SoundCloud a small sampling of their preferred tracks from each game. Last I checked, nobody had actually put the soundtrack for the second game online. Of course, I last checked like years ago, I think. So that was the only place I was ever able to find tracks for the second game, and it was only a couple of them. I hope someone would put them online somewhere, because I think the second game has some really nice music too. Even though it's not quite as quirky as the first game. It's still a little peculiar though, and interesting. Boom Blocks is kind of sort of Kororinpa though, I think, and being kind of a thing that nobody really thinks or talks about. Boom Blocks at least had the Steven Spielberg name attached to it. Because it was, I think it was made by Steven Spielberg for his daughter or something, if I remember right, but it was directed by Steven Spielberg. Which is not something you can usually say about a video game, much less one that's not cinematic in nature in any capacity. Oh, what, really? I didn't realize we hadn't hit a checkpoint there. I thought we had. I wish we had. I thought to myself, yeah, I cleared this difficulty here. Now I can move on to the next one. On to the next challenge. But I wasn't quite done yet. So we're sideways and we have to deal with a fan. We have to be really... That's kind of mean. I guess what I should try to do is try to stop in place after that fan. Instead of trying to write it out. But even that's pretty hard to do when you're at a 90-degree angle. Way to make this game harder. Everything that's already in it, but at a 90-degree angle. Yes, I did love Boom Blocks in this. And this, I think more people have heard Boom Blocks than this. But the Kororinpa games are, in my mind, another hidden gem. And they're more so the first and the second, I think, but they're both, I think, a really good use. Like, oh, I was talking a little bit about this before. A wonderful example of a game that really needs. It has to be a Wii game. It has to be a motion control game. It's the type of game that could not exist on any other platform. It has every reason to be here. Which, you know, I feel like you don't have that much of on the Wii. Like, even some of the really cool, good, like, first-party Nintendo titles on the Wii, like Mario Galaxy, they don't need to be on the Wii. And yeah, they incorporate all sorts of, I'm moving my legs. They incorporate all sorts of, wait a minute, but that leg's asleep. There we go. I lose track, sometimes the wrong leg falls asleep, and it confuses me. But, like, Mario Galaxy had, if you look at the actual premise of Mario Galaxy, it had no need whatsoever to be on the Wii. Of course, there are lots of little gimmick types of gameplay elements that use the Wii, and yeah, you point the screen to pick up and shoot star bits and things like that, but is that a fundamental part of the game? No, it's a platformer. And you don't need motion controls for a platformer, and the game understands that. It doesn't shoehorn the motion controls into the platforming aspect outside of just the spin that you do by just shaking the Wii remote, and that's just flicking your wrist, and that means it's just, you basically just have an extra button in the form of flicking your wrist. Which is good, because that means it doesn't rely on precise movement of any sort. Because relying on precise movement can be really frustrating in Wii games, which Wii games kind of make the mistake of doing, because the Wii remote's not that great for precise movement. It's actually fairly clever how the Wii remote works, but it's very limited in what it can actually do, and for instance, this game shows that off. In fact, actually, so many of this game's woes with the controls would be fixed with the Wii Motion Plus. I wish there was another Kororinpa that used the Wii Motion Plus. What was the Wii Motion Plus? See, you need to understand the Wii Motion Plus, and a lot of people weren't really sold on what the Wii Motion Plus was because they didn't understand what it was for. Largely because Nintendo had done such a good job of... Do I have to actually, like, climb on top of that? I had done such a good job of handling the Wii Remote to begin with. So, the Wii Remote you might think is like a gyroscope or something like that, right? Because you can see what I'm doing here. I'm rotating and it senses its orientation in the game and whatnot. It's not. It's just a couple accelerometers. And it uses the force of gravity to determine which direction it's oriented in. That actually limits greatly how much information it can determine about its location and whatnot. Without being an overly sophisticated piece of technology, Wii Sports did an amazing job of making it seem like it had an actual... Wii Sports in particular, I'm literally being a tech demo for the Wii, managed to do a great job of making it feel like it was in actuality a gyroscope, but it wasn't. So when you try to sell people something that says, hey, here's this attachment, of course I'm not going to say it's a gyroscope because that's kind of overly technical. They say, hey, it actually lets your remote detect its orientation and whatnot in space, and people say like, well, but it could do that before. It couldn't. If I had a Wii Motion Plus though that I was using with this, and this game was configured to use that, then what would happen is orienting the controller upside down, for instance, or, well, one, orienting the controller upside down would be possible to begin with. Two, how in the heck am I going to do this? I actually really have no idea. I really don't! Like, I kind of feel like the most reasonable way to do this, and like kind of promise not to do this, is to actually just flick my wrist. I'd have to do it really hard, though. I feel like that's actually legitimately the most reasonable thing to do here. I think it's actually kind of unreasonable to expect the other way of doing this. Where I guess you have to climb on top of the thing. I'd be a bit more inclined to try that if it wasn't for the fact that I'd have to... do so after going through a bunch of other obstacles every single time. And it's not like it's not a checkpoint right next to that or anything. So this legitimately feels like, it almost feels like it's designed for you to do this, what I'm doing right now. That worked out. Even though, for the most part, this is something that I said I wouldn't do in this playthrough because it's just cheating. And clearly not something you're intended to do. But here I think what you're asked to do is actually unreasonable. This is the first time I've felt like what I'm being asked to do is unreasonable in the game. Hopefully I won't find another case of that. I mean, other cases I've had where I've like run into real issues with this game so far have been a fluke, so hopefully that'll be the case for this one too. So now I'll go back through this legitimately again. But with the like I said, the remote, the way it actually works is it's an oh, come on. I start talking, I distract myself. It's just a couple accelerometers. So it basically just measures the force of gravity in different directions. And from that, it can pretty reliably estimate its orientation in space. So what that has to do with the Wii Motion Plus is that the Wii Motion Plus is an actual proper gyroscope that can actually determine its orientation in space. I actually admittedly don't know how gyroscopes work, so I can't explain more about how that works. And how the technology is actually fundamentally different. But I can tell you that gets rid of so many limitations of the remote and so many problems with how the remote works that people had originally assumed that we would be capable of, players and developers alike. I remember right, I think it was originally developed, the Motion Plus, for Skyward Sword. Because Skyward Sword is the sort of game I think that Nintendo always wanted to make for the Wii. Like, that was like... Really? Wow. Part of the premise, or like part of the idea of the Wii, be able to make games like that, where like it's a sword-oriented game, but it's controlled with motion control, so it's like you're swinging the sword. And now Link's not left-handed anymore. But... the original incarnation of the Wii Remote just wasn't actually suitable for that, so they needed something better. Don't take what I'm saying here as gospel in terms of like their actual thought process, because that wasn't necessarily how it happened. But if I remember right, I believe it was mostly made for the sake of Skyward Sword. Alright. This thing just drags you along whenever it touches you. So, as I was kind of fearing, the underwater levels are pretty tough, it seems like. How are you so far? The challenge level wasn't too bad though. Those are maps. I didn't notice that. That's cool. Alright, but that's done, regardless, even if it took a little while. So... Coin. I'll say that's that. So we should have... I guess we have 41 ants now? I think I had 40 before. Yep. So everything is still going nicely here. In this game so far. Things are getting harder as they're supposed to, so... maybe we'll find that things pick up in a way that makes them tough to actually complete levels at some point. Where do I have to point? Here we go. I see. Thank you. But in any case, I'll see you guys next time, next episode of Let's Play Marble Saga Kororinpa, where maybe I'll talk more about Wii things or something, I don't know. That's just a random thing that came up and I just talked about it. Or in the case, no, not easy. Maybe I should. I'm kind of tempted to go. I haven't played through easy on camera, I guess. I'm almost tempted to do that just to 100% that. One, to show the rest of the game, I guess. But also to 100% that, and then actually have a 100% file, because that'd be really cool. But at the same time, I feel like completing hard should be how I get 100%, right? Well, that makes sense. Unless easy is just a victory lap. I don't know. I won't have proper 100% of this game, I guess, if I don't have fully platinum on everything, but I'm not going to do that. I probably won't play easy on this channel, I don't think. Unless people really want it, but I don't think it'll be much to see, because it'll just be me flying through everything quickly and easily. And I think it would be kind of unceremonious. I don't even remember if... I think easy and normal are basically the same thing. I will say that. It's not like hard mode where it's actually like a different story premise or anything. If I remember right. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time, next episode. Let's play Marble Saga Kororinpa. Bye everyone. See you next time under the sea.